Hello Exiles, Threadlord here. This time I'm here with yet another build showcase of a new build, and again, different kind of Infinite Herald chain. This time it's not Herald of Blood, it's actually Herald of Ice along with chaining with Armor Explosion, and that feels damn good if you ask me. Real nice, real nice. But again, I said it in the Herald of Ice explanation that's gonna be in the video description. I'm not the first to do it, and please, I'm not going to go into details about the Herald of Ice interaction in this one, so yeah, check the video description. There's going to be a deep dive or explanation how the Herald of Ice works in this specific build, so if you're interested, then give that video a go, check it out, and there you'll also be able to find the other channel that the channel on YouTube that I found talking about the Infinite Herald of Ice loop. But yeah, as you can see in the gameplay, it is chaining quite nicely. And yeah, it's basically, TLDR is, it's due to me being a Warbringer and having the Anvil Smite node that makes all 10% of all hit damage dealt armor break. So all kinds of damage armor breaks for me. That doesn't matter what kind of damage it is, if it's chaos, if it's elemental, if it's physical, it always armor breaks, 10% of the hit damage dealt armor breaks, and that means my Herald of Ice can armor break, and Herald of Ice can then, thanks to armor breaking, proc armor explosion, and if you scale enough freeze build-up, enough raw damage, enough just generic freeze modifiers, your armor explosion will be able to freeze, and that freeze is gonna proc Herald of Ice, and Herald of Ice is gonna proc Armor Explosion, and Armor Explosion is gonna proc Herald of Ice again, infinitely chaining, as long as you pretty much kill the enemies, or yeah, as long as you kill the enemies and they are on the screen, near one another, you're gonna infinitely chain, and it's gonna be fine. Super nice, super satisfying to look at, and the good thing about these explosions compared to the previous build with Herald of Blood explosions, it's that these explosions actually happen pretty much instantly, and you don't have to wait, even though the waiting, the proliferation time taking at least a couple frames, it made for this really satisfying playstyle to look at. Not saying that this is not satisfying, definitely this is freaking satisfying too, but the previous one was, I don't know, something felt different. It felt more PoE2-ish. And here, with this setup, I don't know, this setup, I don't wanna I don't wanna say it's bad, but this thing feels more PoE1 than the Herald of Blood explosions that I did in the previous build. I don't know what it is. I think I've talked about that in some of the videos that I made about the Herald of Blood. But yeah, this time it actually feels different. This time it feels more PoE1-ish. And yeah, not saying that's bad. I love it. I love the look of it. But yeah, some things just feels different. And that's the fun part about PoE I really love. You can pretty much achieve the same goal with two different skills, two different setups, but each feels completely different. Not just by the looks, but also when you know how the effects work, and yeah, by the time it actually takes to do some of the stuff. This feels more warrior-ish, right? This feels more like you're actually throwing your hammer, and then because of just the raw power of that hammer, everything explodes. However, with the spear build that I made, the Herald of Blood, it really felt like you're spreading some kind of disease while you're running around. And yeah, just this, like, should I call it power fantasy or whatever? I like the feeling of that. I like the feeling of things with pretty much the same effect being different. And yeah, they technically are the same, right? But Herald of Blood took some time to proliferate. Here it is instant. Each and every single one has its own, or both have its own flaws and upsides and downsides. But yeah, for example, the Herald of Blood compared to this one, really, really, really easy to set up, at least in the way that I did it. And here, for this one, for my specific version that I'm running right now, it is actually quite hard to set it up, and you're gonna have to get crap ton of just raw power, raw damage, ideally currency to throw at the build, and yeah, that way you can make it work. But I highly suggest checking the last video. I'm talking about that a bit, and in that video's description there's gonna be the link for the person's channel that talks about other different Herald of Ice and Armor Explosion setups that you can do, and explains it really well, I would say. So yeah, about this build, I would say enough gameplay. Let's jump into how it actually works and looks and what I do with this build. Alright, and before we jump into the skills and items and all of that, I just want to say that I'm gonna try from now on to keep these videos much shorter than they are, because yeah, these are just showcases, and yeah, I just feel like I should be making these showcases a lot shorter than they are, not like half an hour or more. So yeah, sometimes I'm telling you right now, I may not hover over every single skill gem, but I'll try to do my best to explain the gems, and every time in my videos there's gonna be PoB or the max roll link in the video's description. So if you really want to see every single link or thing I have, then just go and check that link in the description. But yeah, let's just start off with the skills. This time it's Encased in Jade from our Ascendancy, turns us into Shrek and gives us some extra guard. And yep, just pretty much some extra effective HP, and that feels good. Ancestral Spirits, the most important one is Brutus Brain, I would say, because yeah, these are basically spirits that get summoned thanks to our Ascendancy, and they give you various bonuses like 50% increased damage, and there's one other bonus that gives you 10 rage on hit and 20% skill speed, and all of these different bonuses. So yep, this is pretty good, but these can actually die. They get summoned when you use a totem, and yeah, when the totem's gone, it's gonna disappear. And but these spirits also can be damaged by themselves, and I believe they don't get resummoned unless you resummon the totem. So I linked them with Brutus Brain because they're not doing any damage in my build anyways, I believe. So yeah, other than that, Volcanic Fissure, Defy, because I'm constricting command again, so this fixes all my mana, gives me lucky damage. And I'm actually using Ashes Radiance because I'm original Sin build, so that makes all of that fire damage that was converted from physical to fire, that fire damage gets actually converted into chaos, and chaos damage with this skill contributes to to shock chance. That means that this skill is just basically guaranteed to shock on bosses, and that's what I use it for, just for the shock on bosses. Withering Touch, I haven't yet seen a boss, and I did like Uber Zesht, and I'm not sure, I probably didn't do Uber... No, I didn't do Uber Abit on this build yet, but we shall see. I didn't yet get to see a boss that wouldn't have max Wither on it. And how am I withering? By just using this support gem and dealing chaos damage and the ailment, the shock from Ashes Radiance. And I'm also actually using Chaos Madness too, because that means I have to press Volcanic Fissure only twice and it's at its maximum. And then I'm using 4 totems on the Volcanic Fissure, and these are gonna proc the fissures that are gonna just shock and wither and do some damage too, and also generate me rage. Pretty damn good. Shockwave Totem, mostly there for buffs from the totems, and from the totems themselves and from the Ancestral Spirits. And while playing with totems, I highly encourage you to really just disable Screen Shake in interface. I believe it is here somewhere. Yeah, Screen Shake in interface, visual sensitivity disabled, because this is how it's going to look while you have Screen Shake. Every single one of these is going to Screen Shake. And believe me, you already have a problem to see anything on bosses, because you're doing these Volcanic Fissures, you've got quite a lot of attack speed, and all of these fissures are gonna be doing effects, and all of these Screen Shakes, yes, so I highly recommend, and it's No, you're not even talking about it being hard on ice. So I would recommend for this one, disable screen shake. And also turn your bloom to the least amount as possible, because otherwise you're not gonna see literally anything. Even with these settings down as much as possible, you see pretty much nothing. And yeah, it's linked with pretty much some tanky modifiers and life tap and overabundance. And yeah, this one is important to be on weapon set 1 with this build, because I'm using Rigwald's Ferocity to give them more attack speed. That means they're going to be doing more shockwaves, and that means more fissure procs. So they're on weapon set 1 only, and I'm using weapon set points for weapon set 1 on the skill tree for some attack speed and some totem stuff to actually make them survive, of course, and give me some bonuses. Yeah, then Infernal Cry, just to pop Forge Hammer, and that's it, pretty much, to create more fissures on bosses. Rolling Slam, insane damage effectiveness skill. Check the PoE damage effectiveness rolls of Rolling Slam. It's crazy. It gets like on level compared to Hammer of the Gods, one Rolling Slam gives you like 1.5 Hammer of the Gods on level 40. So yeah, and I'm talking level 40 Hammer of the Gods. So level 40 Rolling Slam is equal to like 1.5 Hammer of the Gods on also level 40. So Rolling Slam is absolutely nuts with gem level scaling. And yeah, that's just what I said in some of my previous videos. I always feel like warrior or mace skills have a way to do single target, but the actual tricky part is to fix the clear. And yeah, I'm using Defy, Conquer Area, Cold Attunements, Cold Penetration, and Close Combat with it. Then Forge Hammer. That's an interesting one, because I wanted to make a sort of a Thor's Hammer build. Originally this was supposed to be Mjolnir and more lightning based, but I decided that I'm gonna call it a Hammerfall build and blast to some Hammerfall music on stream. So if you want to check me out blasting to some Hammerfall music, feel free to do so. But the thing is, you just throw your hammer and you recall it, and that's gonna freeze and proc the Herald of Ice explosion. So yeah, linked with Defy, Rage, Cold Attunement, Zofspire, because I didn't really know what else to put in there, so I'm getting some damage as extra chaos, and Rakiata's Flow, because why not? I'm doing quite a bit of cold damage, as you can see right here. Doing quite a bit of cold damage, basically ×2 because I've got 2 weapons, right? So yeah, this is the other roll. So I'm using Rakiata's Flow, actually gives me quite a bit of DPS, and it was about time I should use the Rakiata's Flow support. So yeah. Then Herald of Ice, the star of the show for clearing, with Armor Explosion, Magnified Area Freeze, Cold Penetration, and Tools Stillness to actually make that chaos damage from Armor Explosion that gets converted from physical to fire, and then from fire to chaos. So to make that chaos damage actually be able to contribute to freeze buildup, we need Tool Stillness, and the idea is Armor Explosion is going to freeze, that's going to proc Herald of Ice, and Herald of Ice is going to Armor Break thanks to Warbringer, Ascendancy, and yeah, that's going to proc Armor Explosion, and Armor Explosion is again going to proc Herald of Ice, and they're going to ping pong between each other. So yeah, that's how we do it. And Remnant of the Past, I would say, from the previous build, using Wind Dancer again just to go some auto bombing with Life Leech 3, Cold Attunement, Freeze, Magnified Area, and Cold Penetration, just because what sometimes happens when you throw your Forge Hammer, you actually have to recall it back. And what sometimes happens when you forget to recall it back, you're trying to, let's just imagine that Zelina here is a monster that we want to kill. You click on her, but first you recall the hammer, and while you're actually walking closer, she's in the range where she can hit you, and that's where your Wind Dancer comes into play, because it makes it much more smooth, because when she hits you, she's gonna proc Wind Dancer, we don't have any evasion, she's gonna proc Wind Dancer, the Wind Dancer is gonna freeze, and that means once anything freezes, it's gonna proc the whole chain because of Herald of Ice, procs of frozen enemies. And yeah, lastly, Scavenged Plating with Clarity. I don't even need to use it anymore. Yeah, delete it. Despair with prolonged duration. I didn't even have quality on this. Life tap, heightened curse, rapid casting, and focused curse. Since we're doing so much chaos damage, I'm just cursing enemy boss with despair, so I'm lowering its resists. That's pretty much the skill gems. Now let's get to the items. For the items, I'm going Giant's Blood, which means 2 big 2-handers. I crafted these with some essences, trying to fracture the attack speed, of course. I hit it on this one, so I got the suffixes guaranteed pretty much. And yeah, made this weapon. Could be better. Ideally, I would have the tier 2 percentage physical, right, instead of the reduced attack speed, but that would be, I guess, quite a bit harder to craft. So I decided that I'm gonna go with these, and so far it is more than enough. It feels good. I'm proccing the chain explosions, and the single target's been really good too. So yeah, I don't even have to worry about anything. Basically, pretty much 2 identical weapons. On the other one, I don't need the onslaught, since, yeah, I don't really need more than 22% onslaught on kill, because this already makes it be pretty much 100% uptime while mapping, while actually killing monsters. So yeah, and then getting damage is extra cold with the Essence of Battle. Or no, Essence of Battle. Well, basically with the perfect essence. So I'm giving my armor explosion some damage as extra cold, because damage as extra actually applies at the same time as conversions do. So damage as extra doesn't get converted. That means that basically my armor explosion, even though it converts all fire damage to chaos, it still does lots of cold damage because of various modifiers, such as the ones I have on my weapons. Yeah, of course, Original Sin, then just a Breach Ring with Rarity Resists Life, and then Ascendancy to get me all of those sweet, sweet attributes. Constricting Command to soak up all the surrounded nodes on the skill tree here and here. And then for the rest of the gear, it's just pretty much armor resists, and armor also applies to melee damage. And yeah, belt, the same story. Gloves, the same story. Plus, you want to get melee skills on gloves. And I really like these magnitude runes that I socketed into my gloves to give you easier time freezing and shocking. Actually, more magnitude of shock and easier time freezing. I believe that this does work on freeze. I wasn't quite sure, but as soon as I equipped 2 of these runes, it felt like it is actually working for freeze. And it is definitely working for shock, because this is increasing the magnitude of shock you inflict. And boots, again, pretty much the same story, as well as they have movement speed. In terms of the skill tree, we're a Warbringer, so that means we're taking the Annual's Weight to make the chain real easy, and don't have to worry about any other like lineage supports or getting physical damage to armor break. Just makes it real easy. So I'm going Annual's Weight. Jade Heritage to occasionally turn into Hulk and defend your own swamp before fairy tale creatures. Yep. And yeah, I went with the Answered Call because I just find it quite cool, and the bonuses you get from those totems are definitely nothing to scoff at. So 50% increased damage from the Jade Hulk. This dude is gonna give you 10 rage on hit and 20% increased skill speed. And these witches, these are gonna apply insane area of effect, some kind of spell that's just straight up guarantees to pin enemies fully, even on bosses. And then you can summon the giant turtle that just gives you 80% increased defenses, which means all of your evasion, armor, energy shield, and all of that fun stuff. And where's the goddamn shockwave totem? Perfect. And also give you 40% block, but I don't have any block on this build, unfortunately. And Wooden Wall to just get basically 20% damage reduction from hits once you have totems up. And yeah, for the weapon swap, the only 2 things I'm using on weapon swap 1 is the shockwave totem, as I said, because of Rigwald's ferocity, and Despair, because on weapon set 1 I'm scaling duration, so my totems have more duration, and that duration also applies to the Despair. So yeah, the red ones, like such as these, are the weapon set 1 points, scaling attack speed and duration, and some totem stuff as I said, to make them be more durable. And on the weapon set too, that's where we're actually scaling the damage and the area, and that's where we're spending the most of our time in. So we're getting points with movement speed, and this is probably, I would say, my favorite cluster added to the game this league that I know of, actually, at least. And just a huge amount of movement speed. I would say momentum almost necessary for builds that use body armors that are just purely armor based, because I believe it's 5% reduced movement speed for armor based body armor, as opposed to evasion based body armor. You have no downside or penalty to movement speed. Yeah, I get the idea of the theme or the power fantasy, but it feels a bit unfair. Not gonna lie, it feels a bit unfair, but I'm more than happy that they've actually added this cluster right here that makes you straight up remove those downside completely. Yeah. And pretty much the rest of the skill tree is getting enough strength for Giant's Blood, and scaling skill effect duration and increases to attack damage as well as armor, and going down here for iron reflexes. And this again, ideally you would have pure armor gloves, but those are extremely expensive, so I decided not to. And yeah, taking all the surrounded stuff because of constricting command. Now for the jewels that we have here, it's pretty much Heart of the Well with damage as extra cold and damage as extra chaos, as well as recover life on kill. That's my only source of life on kill, and I like it a lot. And just a bunch of damage from this Heart of the Well. Bought this for, I believe, 4 divines, so yeah, no one cares about this that much, I would say. Then, similarly, against the darkness with Fire Res, this is actually capping me on Fire Res, and notables give you 4 damage as extra cold. You can corrupt that into 5, that would be perfect. I didn't manage to do so. And in this radius, it's giving me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, what is it? 24% damage as extra cold. And that's a lot if you ask me. And the third jewel is Prism of Belief. As I said about the damage effectiveness of Rolling Slam, you could just get a Rolling Slam one with +3 levels and make all of your single target be Rolling Slam, and you wouldn't have to worry about that much about it like your other stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to make it more of a Thor theme or the Hammerfall theme, so I got this one. And yeah, you can get the other one for Rolling Slam, but 3 levels of Rolling Slam costs like 30 divines, I believe, or 40 or 50, something like that, just because Rolling Slam is actually that strong. And yeah, that's pretty much the skill tree, that's pretty much the whole build. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing another like build update on this one, maybe. Yeah, if you want to see it in action or ask any questions about the build, please ask me in the comments, or just stop by the stream and on twitch.tv/exiledpretlord. And yeah, a link in the description, by the way. You can ask me questions about this or any questions about my builds there on Twitch live. So yeah, that's it for the build, I guess. Thank you very much for watching, Exiles, and see you in the next one.